Hi everyone, this is Blake Anderson, and I'm a registered social worker and therapist here in Toronto, Ontario. I have over 14 years of collective experience as a registered social worker and 5 years as a therapist. In this video, I want to talk about aspects of mirroring, as well as just the notion of the false self as being a hall of mirrors, and then just talk about your own self-reflection and how that could be seen as it's your own having your own mirror. The narcissist, when they originally get to know you, will typically mirror you. So they'll emulate a lot of your mannerisms, maybe your interests. And at first, you take this as them showing interest and care. But usually, when you're already in the relationship and in the devaluation phase, you realize that this was really the love bombing phase, and a lot of their interests weren't actually, a lot of the interests they said they shared with you were just used to get their hooks into you and manipulate you. And I'm going to explain why they do that. In the idolization phase, they will mirror you. So I'm particularly thinking about in a family dynamic. So this is like your mom or your father, and you might have spent your childhood and your like teenage years believing that this mirroring is them being thoughtful and considerate of you. But now that you've come to understand the narcissistic family and the narcissistic parent, you realize this probably has to do with them mirroring you and picking up on your interests to manipulate you into the shared fantasy. In the idolization phase, they're making a snapshot of you. You look into their eyes and you are getting the affection that they're giving you. They're showing you, in some sense, an idolized image of yourself. According to Sam Vatkin, this is the notion of the shared fantasy. So they mirror back to you all the things that you like about yourself. So you could consider this being like the narcissism in yourself, because we all have a level of narcissism, right? But the things that we admire about ourselves, this isn't even just them reflecting it as a one-to-one relationship, but rather it's an exaggerated mirror back. Maybe you've seen those mirrors, right, where they can make you look skinnier or I guess fatter, but this is like a mirror that makes you look even better. Let's say that you're a little bit overweight and you look in this mirror and it gives you this like really nice reflection of your body being much skinnier. So you consider it like that. When you're in the devaluation phase, this is when they first devalue you and then discard you. But when they devalue you, this is typically when their shadow is coming out because they can't own their shadow. So, like guilt, shame, all the things that they don't want to face themselves, they project that onto you and see it in you. And basically, they'll also pick up on a lot of your insecurities and things you've disclosed to them. They'll use that to weaponize your reflection against yourself because they know that if the focus stays on you, it will distract you from finding out about them and picking up on their manipulation. They also probably know that you're empathetic and you have the ability to self-reflect, whereas they largely don't. They'll use half-truths or your insecurities, and this is where usually you get very confused and can have cognitive dissonance because I guess one, they're putting the emphasis back on you. Also, when you're trying to keep them accountable, there's this notion of the hall of mirrors. It's like you're in a fun house at a carnival and there's no beginning and no end of this like infinity of mirrors. And so it's a conglomeration of snapshots of other people, basically, is what the narcissist is. Because the narcissist doesn't really have a self, but rather it's just the external world that they're merged with. And so the only way that they exist is through the reflections of other people. But when they first idolize you, they make you into this idolized image. In some sense, you get in love with that idolized image. When the narcissist starts to pull you down into their orbit and you spend many years with them, they have created the sense of you as a dead object. And it is you probably caught up in a lot of your own ruminating and the distortions of the narcissist. And they mirror back to you aspects of yourself, insecurities, and also instill doubt into you. And the notion is that you're pulled into this underworld or a lower vibration, and your mirror has become less clear. So it's gathered dust, and you don't see yourself clearly, and you don't see the narcissist or the external world clearly. Rather, it's the distortions of your own mirror because it's dusty but also because you're in the Hall of Mirrors within the shared fantasy of the narcissist. And again, the Hall of Mirrors represent this notion that the narcissist gathers different snapshots of they're basically this conglomeration of different snapshots and aspects of the world and have different faces that they will show you. So it could be this child in need, this kind of child part of them. It can be this very grandiose, godlike part of them. They can also play the victim. You never really know who you're dealing with or what you're dealing with. And this is to know that, again, the narcissist outsources their reflections and their identity in the external world. And they also mirror back to you aspects of yourself. It's very much a confusing mess. And the reason why they likely got attracted to you is because the empath has a clear mirror. When they first met you, the victim entered the relationship as a clear mirror. You're honest, vulnerable, and clean. The narcissists use your clarity to fix their own image. They looked at you and saw the idolized self they wanted to be. The only way you can escape the Hall of Mirrors is by no longer outsourcing reality testing to the Hall of Mirrors. You have to get back to yourself in terms of your own reality testing and find that clear mirror again. So guys, a quick plug. I'm doing membership levels as part of my YouTube. As I start to build out my YouTube channel, I'm including these 3 membership levels so that you can get more access to educational information, exclusive shorts, as well as a deep dive. Each tier unlocks different perks or benefits. The first level, which is the Skate Masters, allows you to get a badge when you're interacting on the live stream. You also get an emoji so you can express yourself and just help contribute to the channel. And then I'm also going to allow you to get early access to videos. So you'll be the first one to get access to videos are posted. The second level is the Goat Guardians. And this will give you about 3 to 4 exclusive shorts every month. You'll also be able to participate in polls, so you'll be able to share your own interests and what you want to be reflected in the channel in terms of topics and other issues you want discussed. And then the final level I'm calling the Oracle Guardians. This is the final level, and that's going to allow you to get access to deep dives. Once a month, I'm going to give a deep dive about 30 minutes long where I'm going to go in depth about a topic exclusive to the channel, but will be released in the future down the road. But you're going to get early access to these deep dives. Also, I'm going to allow you to download slides. So if you want to get access to the slides that are covered in each video, I'm going to give you the ability to download those slides so that you can review them offline and just give a better sense of the information that's covered in the videos. I'll also give shout outs at the end of the videos. I'll post your name at the end, like your username. I really appreciate your support. I'm building out this YouTube channel. It obviously does take time, money, resources for me to do this. So I guess I'm hoping people can support the channel at these different levels. If budget's an issue, you can continue as a free member, or you could do the lowest level. That way you're still supporting the channel, and it will really help me out. Stay tuned for the next part of this video. So you clean that mirror of yourself in terms of getting back to reflecting what you know to be true. I often think about the notion if you're in this underworld, this darkness that they've created for you, and you're very much lost in these hall of mirrors, your reflection isn't clear anymore and it's dusty. There's also not a lot of light being entered. The only way you can see in a mirror is through having light in the room, right? The same way with you have to bring back the light in your life. And the light can obviously represent, if you're spiritual, the sense of spirituality or God. If you're more rational, it might be something like the Enlightenment. So thinking clearly from first principles and having a healthy sense of skepticism, but basing it on truth and goodness and beauty. And I really like Jinyu Krishnamurti. So Krishnamurti was a spiritual teacher in the East and would encourage people to be a light to themselves. Even though he was a teacher, he would always be putting it back on to the student to find it in themselves and be their own authority in their own life. Typically, it's an empath or a codependent that gets stuck in the cycle. Narcissists will attract themselves to a variety of different people, but it's the codependent or the empath that over time the narcissist has eroded the self-esteem, the self-confidence. And the codependent very much stays in the relationship because they're finding themselves in the other. The only way they're getting self-love is through the eyes and the reflection of the narcissist. But of course, over time, this becomes less and less because the narcissist will breadcrumb, and it's really not self-love. It's really just the narcissist's own self-importance, and you're a mere snapshot in their own internal world. The empath or the codependent needs to find the courage within because they usually don't have a lot of self-love. And they, in some sense, are an inverted narcissist. And that's when it's really unhealthy. I think that we're all, in some sense, a victim of narcissist in terms of that relationship. But then if you stay in that dynamic and continue to feed the cycle, you have to reflect on yourself. Why are you not having self-worth and your own self-esteem? And if you continue to get caught in the drama, then you're also not fully taking ownership of your self-worth and self-love. But that's really to face the emptiness within, the feeling of maybe being by yourself. And it can be a hard journey, but when you get free, you're going to have your own mirror, and that mirror is going to be a lot cleaner. You're going to see things clearer, and life isn't going to be this crazy making and confused mess. You're not going to have all these distortions and various aspects of these halls and mirrors where you don't know where you begin and don't know where you end. Your cognitive dissonance is going to lessen, and you're going to come back to yourself, even if it's a reflection of yourself that it's hard to look at least it's reality and it's who you are, right? And so that's just to know that you have to be a light to yourself. A lot of people will talk about spirituality. So fundamentally, if you have a relationship with God or spirituality, you understand that the universe has these intrinsic principles that are inherent to the universe. But with a narcissist, they are making themselves into a god, right? And you are to outsource all your reality testing to them as this deity, as this false self. And in order for you to do that, you have to basically die, and you're no longer a living organism or a living human being. And if you have God or the spirit above you, and you realize that ultimately there is truth in the universe and goodness, then that's the right way to look at love and relationships. Is that in Kierkegaard, he had a book about love, right? And again, not everyone's religious or spiritual, so it's fine if you're not, but it's just this notion that your first love is the love of God, and then it's the love of the other human being. But it's through your eyes and towards your partner that you're loving both God and your partner, if that makes sense. But the narcissist wants you not to have that relationship with some intrinsic principles. And they want to convince you as though they themselves are the God. They'll distract you through these hall of mirrors and put it back on you because you have a conscience and probably a lot of ability to feel guilt. Then they're going to have you get stuck in your own kind of neurosis and your own reflections. And it'd be you both wanting to leave them, but then also want to stay with them. And there's the goodness of them, but also the badness. So it's a very confusing mess. And so again, you don't know where you begin, you don't know where you end. Often clients will be very frantic and have a lot of anxiety and internal dialogue that is like racing thoughts and ruminating, but then they'll also be shut down and closed off. It's just this confusing mess. Sometimes I'll see this in my clients when they've been in contact with the narcissist. They'll be very anxious. They'll be anticipating what they think the narcissist is going to do. So there's this fear response, and they are hypervigilant. But then when they're spent some weeks away, I've seen like a completely different person. They're calmer, more relaxed. They trust themselves more. They're happier. Their relationships are better. Maybe work's going better. But obviously, when you're on the receiving end of these narcissistic individuals, they convince you of this hall of mirrors and use your own reflections against you. So these are more negative aspects that you don't like about yourself, or they try to convince you that you're just like them. Because your mirror's been dusty and you don't see clearly because of their distortions, it's hard for you to, and there's not a lot of light that's getting in. it's hard for you to see yourself and them accurately. It's maybe someone outside of you, like a friend or a psychologist or a therapist, that will help you get a better reflection. That's the only way, in some sense, that light gets in. Or if you have spirituality, like you're going to church, or there's an external truth in the Bible, or this is the way that you can have a better reality testing. But yeah, in this video, I wanted to talk about the notion of the Hall of Mirrors. It's a good way to think about it. You have self-reflection in terms of having your own mirror. It's making sure you don't get lost in this fun house with mirrors that just go on forever. And so, yeah, in this video, I just walked through aspects of understanding this notion of mirrors and how they pick up on your mannerisms, body language, and interests, and then mirror it back to you. I also spoke about the false self and how the false self can show up in a variety of ways. I hope you like this video. I'm going to leave you with a notebook presentation that walks you through what I spoke about. Stay tuned, as I will leave that at the end. And I think it'll be very informative and helpful for you on your journey to understand this dynamic. So if you did like this video, please like and subscribe. Thanks and have a great day.
Today, we're going to tackle one of the most confusing and painful parts of psychology, but we're going to do it through one single, really powerful metaphor: the narcissist's Hall of Mirrors. You know, we hear it all the time. Narcissism is just an obsession with yourself, too much self-love. But what if that's not just wrong? What if it's the complete opposite? What if it isn't about loving a self at all, but about the terrifying absence of one? And that's where this idea really clicks into place. Pathological narcissism isn't this big, inflated self. It's an internal void, a psychological hall of mirrors, where nothing inside is real and everything you see is just a reflection of something else. So what exactly is this hall of mirrors? And more importantly, how do you find yourself trapped inside it? Let's get into it. Okay, think about an actual mirror. On its own, what is it? It's nothing. It's just a blank surface. It's totally empty until you or something else stands in front of it. Well, this is an incredible way to understand the narcissist's inner world. Because they don't have a stable, true self, they have to build an identity piece by piece by reflecting the people around them. And the self they build, it's not a solid thing. It's more of a messy jumble, a conglomeration of bits and pieces they've borrowed, or really stolen, from other people. They take these mental snapshots of you, of your personality, your likes, your values. And here's the crazy part. From that moment on, they stop interacting with you. Instead, they're in a relationship with that static, frozen image of you that they have in their head. So if this whole dynamic is built on an empty foundation, why does it feel so powerful, so magnetic, especially at the start? Well, that brings us to the allure of that perfect, flawless reflection. You see, our brains are literally wired to connect with each other through what are called mirror neurons. It's how we feel empathy. It's a beautiful thing, really. But a narcissist? Well, they weaponize this process. They're not mirroring you to connect. They are mimicking you to control. They reflect back this perfect, idealized version of yourself, creating this incredibly intense but totally delusional bond called a shared fantasy. So in this first phase, you, the partner, you become the perfect mirror. You're clear, you're flawless. And because you reflect their own grandiose, godlike self-image back at them, they put you on a pedestal. You're idealized not for who you are, but for the perfect reflection you provide. And this shared fantasy is the bubble you both live in. Honestly, it probably feels like the deepest, most profound connection you've ever had. But it's all built on a very fragile illusion. Your idealization of them is the only thing holding up their false sense of self. But here's the thing about illusions. They always break. And when they do, that beautiful hall of mirrors twists and distorts into a terrifying, disorienting funhouse. At first, everything they reflect back at you is perfect. You're the only one who gets me. You feel seen on a soul-deep level. It's a high like no other. And then, boom, seemingly out of nowhere, the reflection flips. The same things they loved about you, now they're your biggest flaws. You're too sensitive, you're too emotional. This emotional whiplash is intentional. It's designed to make you question your own reality. And this is the absolute core of the funhouse nightmare. You're desperately trying to fix your reflection in a mirror held by someone who has no connection to reality themselves. So what do? You start to doubt your own sanity, and little by little, you outsource it to them. So why? Why does the reflection get so distorted? Well, the mechanism behind this terrifying shift from idealization to devaluation is all about something called the projected shadow. This is what's known as flipping the mirror. The narcissist simply can't keep up the perfect act. So instead of reflecting your love back at you, they start projecting all of their own dark stuff, all their shame, their inner chaos, their self-hatred directly onto you. You literally become the screen for their inner horror movie. As you can imagine, the impact of this is just devastating. When you're forced to hold all of their darkness while being told your own reality is wrong, it's been described as a kind of psychic death. It's the slow, painful erasure of who you are. The ancient myth of Echo and Narcissus captures this perfectly. The nymph Echo was cursed to only repeat what others said, and she eventually faded away, losing her own voice completely. It's the same tragic story. The victim's identity, their voice, their very thoughts start to fade away, replaced by the narcissist's empty, distorted reflection. Now, I know this sounds incredibly bleak, but understanding how the trap works is the absolutely essential first step to breaking free. So let's talk about the most important part: escaping the Hall of Mirrors. The very first step is to completely reframe the situation. You have to see the narcissist not as this powerful, godlike figure, but as a false prophet, an anti-god, really, who is so empty that they require your worship, your reflection, just to exist. Their power isn't their own. It's completely dependent on you. Escaping, then, is all about reclaiming your true, authentic self, a process called individuation. First, you have to withdraw your gaze. You have to stop looking at them to tell you who you are. Second, you have to anchor yourself back in your reality, your truth, your values. And finally, and this is the most beautiful part, you have to cultivate your own inner light. You become your own source of power and identity, so you never, ever need a distorted mirror to feel whole again. Which leaves us with one last really powerful question to think about. A mirror can only reflect light. It's completely dependent on an outside source. So when you cultivate your own inner light, and then you choose to take it away, what does the mirror see in the dark? Absolutely nothing. You realize it is, and it always was, completely empty. The goal isn't just to escape the reflection, it's to become the light.